and it's something that all of the business leaders listening need to grapple with, and that is the daily grind. And there's a big difference here with short-term goals and long-term goals. But when it comes to work, you view this as two types. There are two types of work, and I want you to explain the Hebrew words behind them, if you would.
Sure. But first of all, before we even dive into that, you have to forgive me, but I need to utterly and unambiguously reject the term the daily grind.
You're done with it. We're not doing it.
Because if you view your work as a grind, I mean, really, isn't life too short to do things that are a grind? A grind means that it's wearing you down, right?
It's a negative connotation.
In my shop, I have a grinding wheel. Now, there's a limited number of times you can grind the point on a chisel before you don't have a chisel left anymore, because grind grinds you down. No. Work isn't a grind. It's a privilege and an opportunity. And the key thing is to be able to reshape one's outlook into this area.
Wow, that's powerful.
No, it's really very, very important because let me share with you 4 verses quickly. Okay, one of them is in Genesis chapter 2, verse 15, and God put Adam in the Garden of Eden to work it. Right? And then another one is Exodus chapter 20, verse 9. It's the 10 Commandments. The 4th commandment is the Sabbath. And 6 days you must do all your work. Now, you notice I've given you 2 verses that use the word work. Now I want to give you 2 more verses. Chapter 1 in Exodus. God says to Moses, go to Pharaoh and say, let my people go so that they may worship me in the desert. That's a worship. Chapter 24 of Joshua, the very last chapter in the book of Joshua, verse 15, Joshua's fed up with everybody. He says, you know what, you people can do what you like. As for me and my family, we shall worship the Lord. Now, see, I've given you 2 verses of work and 2 verses of worship. Work is Garden of Eden and Sabbath, 6 days you must work. And worship is leave Egypt and worship God in the desert. And for me and my family, we'll worship the Lord. Now, I like telling people that everybody needs a rabbi because I hate unemployment.
Oh, that's perfect.
So I humbly submit my candidacy for that job. And what I'm able to share is something that is totally hidden in the English translation. And that is all 4 verses use the same Hebrew word, even though the English translated the first 2 as work and the second 2 as worship.
They're interconnected.
Same word, because, and here's the crucial thing, taking care of business is another way of worshiping the Lord. Why? Because here's a way of defining work. Work is pleasing another one of God's children. It might be your boss, might be a customer, might be a client, could be any number of people. But if you're not pleasing another person, you're not working. You see why this isn't a grind?
Yeah, it's service.
It's service, exactly. And that's why we use the word customer service and worship service. These are very closely related concepts. And so when I go to work, see, I follow the biblical rule. 6 days shalt thou work, and the 7th is the Lord's day I rest. I rest on the Shabbat. The Sabbath is Saturday. So my 6 days of work start on Saturday night. Sunday morning, I go to work. It's not a pain. It's not a grind. It's exciting. It's a privilege. It's just one more way of pleasing my boss.
Well, if you've met any of our EntreLeadership attendees, you'll know they're just like you. They're so excited to do the work they get to do.
Exactly. That's why I say we shouldn't use the word the daily grind. It's a privilege and a pleasure. I mean, gosh, what more? What would you rather do?
So when it comes to work, as much as we love doing what we get to do, there's pieces of work that we may not enjoy. It's all of the daily tasks, the meetings, the stuff that we have to do in order to have the impact that we want to make. How do we push through those things and have that impact and get to the stuff that excites us? How do you balance those?
We all recognize that in our daily work, There are parts of things we like doing, parts of things we don't like doing. If you are an independent entrepreneur, if you are building a business, then what you try to do is hire people to do the things you don't like doing so you can focus on the things you do like doing, because invariably you're going to be doing those better than you're going to be doing the things you don't like. But especially when you're starting off, you don't have an option and you have to do everything.